House Deputy Speaker Paulo Ortega said the House-approved version of the Anti-Political Dynasty Bill is the most realistic measure to implement the Constitution's mandate against political dynasties. Good morning. I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and this is At the Forefront. Various business and civic groups are opposing the House version of an anti-political dynasty bill. The groups warn the measure could legitimize political dynasties instead of curbing them. The Senate has yet to finalize its own version of the bill, which is part of President Bongbong Marcos's priority measures. House Deputy Speaker Paulo Ortega said the House-approved version is the most realistic version that they can come up with. To give us his insights on this, we'll be speaking with Bayan Chairman and former lawmaker, Teddy Casiño. Good morning, Congressman Teddy.
Good morning, Attorney Karen. Magandang umaga po sa lahat ng nanonood at nakikinig.
Teddy, let's start with what House Deputy Speaker Paulo Ortega said, that the House-approved version of the Anti-Political Dynasty Bill is the most realistic approach. Do you agree with this?
Well, yung most realistic basically means it is the version that the dynasties in the House can tolerate. So in that sense, it is true. It is the most realistic. But the question is it what we really need? And will it solve the problem of too much power at the hands of the political dynasties? I don't think it will. In fact, the reverse will true. This will now institutionalize, it will legalize the existence of the political dynasties. And so this is not a anti-political dynasty act. This is actually a political dynasty protection act.
Yes. Teddy, siguro yung baseline dito is how do we even define political dynasty? Is there a working definition that is agreed upon by people that are pushing for what the Constitution says, that there should be an anti-political dynasty law? Ano ba ang dapat na definition ng political dynasty?
Well, there are three aspects in the definition. One, of course, is what is the extent of relationship to say that there is a political dynasty relationship. And so, of course, the basic is second degree of consanguinity. Ibig sabihin, yung lolo mo, yung tatay mo, nanay mo, asawa mo, mga anak mo, kapatid mo, your children and your grandchildren. That is the second degree. But there are proposals that covers until the fourth degree of consanguinity. So that would include your cousins, that would include your in-laws. So yan, yung kung gaano ka lawak yung magiging covered na relationship. And the bill, as it is passed, covers only the second degree of consanguinity. Secondly, what kind of continuation of the dynasty? It can be simultaneous o yung horizontal na tinatawag. Ibig sabihin, ipagbabawal ba yung sabay-sabay kayong tatakbo for certain positions? Or succession, yung sunod-sunod. And this bill covers only sabay-sabay or simultaneous occupation of positions. It does not cover yung succession. And third aspect would be, does the prohibition cover vertical relationships? Ibig sabihin from the national down to the local? Or does it cover only horizontal positions, meaning nasa isang LGU lang or nasa sa Senate lang or members of House only. And in this version, again, it is only horizontal positions. So ibig sabihin, bawal lang ang political dynasty pag pare-pareho kayo ng provincial government, for example. Pero pag meron ka kamag-anak sa munisipyo or sa city, or sa Congress, or sa Senate, or sa Malacanang, that is allowed under this law.
Yeah, let's go with the details because you already covered that House Bill 8389, which is the Congress or House version of the Anti-Political Dynasty Bill, only covers up to the second degree of consanguinity. So ibig sabihin, like you said, grandparents, lolo't lola, parents, mga kapatid, at anak, yun hanggang dun lang yung coverage ng pinagbabawal. And furthermore, it only prohibits those who simultaneously occupy the offices of the same political jurisdiction. So, ibig sabihin, pwedeng simultaneously, yung same family members will occupy the offices, for example, of governor, congressman, and mayor within one province. So, ibig sabihin, parang ang tinamaan lang would be yung magkakapatid or mag-ina, mag-parents sa Senate. So you can have a province where lahat ng mga ibang posisyon, pare-pareho isang pamilya lang galing. Even if mag-ama, mag-ina, magkakapatid.
Let's be more concrete. Kunwari, governor ako. Under this law, pwedeng ang lolo ko ay presidente, ang nanay ko ay senador, I am the provincial governor, yung katabi naming probinsya, governor, kapatid ko, the vice governor, the mayor can be my son, and the vice mayor can be his cousin, the congressman can be my wife. And then, pwede pang yung isa kong kapatid, party list congressman. Because this law does not cover the party list system. So imagine mo yan, it makes it possible na yung anak ng presidente na ang asawa ay senador at ang anak nila ay gobernador at ang asawa ng gobernador ay congresswoman, kapatid ng gobernador ay district representative. And then the other sibling of the governor is also a governor in a different province. And then yung mga anak nila ay mga mayor. And then yung mga pinsan nila ay mga vice mayor down the line.
So parang walang mababago po dun sa nakikita natin ngayon. Except yung sa Senate, bawal na yung magkakapatid at mag-ina, mag-ama, ganon. Pero yung nakikita natin ngayon, that's it. Like you said, it would be a bill legitimizing political dynasties. And like, for example, just to take a concrete example, we have former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Right now, he is a congressman for Leyte. At ang asawa niya po ay party list representative, so nasa Congress din. At ang anak din nila ay currently is also in Congress as a party list representative. So under this bill, they can keep doing that. They can keep retaining that type of arrangement.
Yes, and his cousin is the mayor of Tacloban.
Yes, opo. So pwede yun dito sa bill ng House. Okay, so kung ganon, what will Bayan do if this type of law, if this bill is passed?
Of course, first things first, we will question this at the Supreme Court because we think that this totally goes against the intention of the framers of the Constitution. Pinagbawal nga nila eh. Pinagbawal nga nila yung political dynasty. Why does the law allow it? Institutionalizes it even. Secondly, well, ang problema pag batas na yan, patutupad ng COMELEC yan, we will, of course, try to oppose it on the ground. I think ang isang impact niyan, mas mafo-focus ang issue ng dynasty in the coming 2028 elections, and probably it can even bolster the chances of candidates who are not from the political dynasties because it will now focus attention of the people. At makikita kung gaano kagarapal ang ginawa ng Kongreso dito and self-serving, and hopefully that will inspire a backlash against the political dynasties in the coming elections. And of course, kaakibat pareho ng questioning it in court and participating in the elections with an anti-dynasty platform would be generating the people's protest. kung ang mamamayan libo-libo lumabas sa kalye because of the issue of corruption, I can see why we cannot also go out in our hundreds of thousands or millions against this very unjust piece of legislation.
Teddy, si Congressman Paulo Ortega, who also comes from a political dynasty, said voters should judge politicians based on performance, not merely surnames. He also said there are studies that certain areas that are ruled by political dynasties show success. What is your take on this?
Ang issue naman dyan is not yung mine-mention niya na walang choices na na people are supposed to choose based on the merits. The problem with political dynasties is that the people's options are limited. For example, I live in Metro Manila, in a city in Metro Manila. Manila na yan and this is one of the bigger, most rich and highly educated cities in Metro Manila. In the last election, ang pinagpilian namin sa mayor, sa kandidatong mayor, ay yung kapatid ng dating mayor at yung asawa ng dating mayor. In other words, mag-in-law yung naglaban. So even if you choose, yung sasabihin mo yung better performer, better qualified, they're still part of the same family. They're still part of one family that has ruled the place for more than 20 years. So yun ang problema sa political dynasties You are not giving people the real option to choose on the merits because nalimit na kaagad yung choices mo sa mga malalaking political dynasties. And that is true practically everywhere. Kung hindi magkakamag-anak, dalawang political dynasties ang naglalaban sa bawat lugar. At marami ang qualified, hindi natatakbo dahil alam nila the odds are stacked against non-dynastic politicians.
Yeah.
Or they will have to grow their own political dynasty para makalaban sila sa mas matataas na levels of governance.
Yeah, but Teddy, you raise a good point. Kasi yung mga nasa political dynasty have over the years accumulated wealth, connections, and of course, the base of power wherein they operate. So kung magpasa tayo ng Anti-Political Dynasty Bill, hindi ba't nandun pa rin yung problema na lack of funding, lack of power, at wala silang connections doon sa mga currently na nakaupo. So mas mahirap ding manalo against someone who already comes from a political dynasty. Meron bang mga dapat idagdag na measures to make this law, kung may mapasa tayong Anti-Political Dynasty Bill, to make this more effective?
Well, to be sure, even if this becomes a progressive political dynasty, banning 4 degrees of consanguinity, etc., you will have to contend with that. Yung power base ng political dynasties, talagang hindi naman nagagalaw ng batas na ito. All it provides is an opening. But how the other candidates who are not from the political dynasties will be able to maximize that opening will also really depend on the political context of their province or of their city, of their municipality. So tama ka, kung ang political dynasty may hawak ng halos lahat ng negosyo sa lugar, and all the local governments ay mga kamag-anak na nila, mahihirapan talaga yung political dynasty, yung bagong kandidato, especially with this kind of a law. Now, if it would be better, I think, if this law can somehow integrate some of the conflict of interest principles or provisions found in other laws. Na dapat the ban will cover not only those who are elected in office, but those relatives or members of the family who have amassed great control over economic control in a certain area. Pero very complicated yan. I think it can be a matter for legislative inquiry. But that's true. Yung political positions is only one part of the totality of the phenomenon of political dynasty rule.
So we have a lot to do pa to make sure that this is more effective, yung
Yes.
steps against anti-political dynasty.
Ang tawag nila dito, this is the first step. But really, it is a misstep. At yung first step pa lang nadapa ka na, how can you go on to the succeeding steps?
Oh, instead of step
So-
forward, step backward.
And step backward dito eh. It's really one step, but it's paatras. Now, the question is, can the Senate do something about
Yeah.
this?
That's my next question, Teddy. Are you optimistic that the version of the Senate on anti-political dynasty will be stronger? But before you answer this question, we'll have to take a short break. At the Forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the Forefront. We continue our conversation with Bayan Chairman Teddy Casiño. Teddy, the Senate has yet to finalize its version of the Anti-Political Dynasty Bill. Are you optimistic their version will be stronger?
No, I'm not. Unang-una, let's look at the numbers. You have 4 sets of siblings in the Senate. So, 4 kaagad dyan ang magkakapatid. So, that's already 8 senators who will be, by their nature, it is against their interest to pass this kind of the bill. 8 kaagad dyan. Yung isa dyan, kapatid ng presidente. So, it is also against her interest to pass this kind of the bill. At least, I think, 2 are related to members of Congress. Yung isa dyan, nanay ng isang congressman. Yung isa, kapatid ng congresswoman. Meron dyan, may anak din na nasa local governments, mga governor. So considering that you will need 13 votes to pass a similar bill in the Senate, and if we presume even a stronger bill, because that is what is needed, a stronger bill in Congress that would have even more encompassing prohibitions, medyo duda ako that it will pass because the members of the Senate who are also part of the political dynasties are more than a majority there. So that's so ngayon, of course, the Senate is more sensitive to the public pulse. So depende rin yan siguro kung gaano kalakas ang magiging panawagan at mga protesta ng taong bayan sa labas. But by themselves, it will be against the interest, I think, of at least 13 senators to pass any kind of bill banning political dynasties.
Yeah, and based on even the House version, which you said legitimizes political dynasty, even then, ang tatamaan ay maraming magkakapatid sa Senate with the House version. But PBBM has made this bill a priority. Do you think this will be passed before the SONA or anytime during his term?
Well, probably some kind of a version will be passed. The Senate will, I'm not so sure how the Senate will change this proposal from the House. But if the President is really insisting, then a token anti-dynasty bill will be passed. But hindi nalalayo dito sa version ng House. Because if the Senate includes, for example, the party list there, or includes members of Congress na hindi pwedeng kasabay ng gobernador na kamag-anak, hindi lulusot yan sa Congress eh. So, nothing dramatically different from this version of the House will be passed. And which is, as far as we are concerned, not really much.
Pag ganun na, Teddy, parang, I don't know, it sounds like we're in this grim situation where we either have an anti-political dynasty bill that will never be passed because Ilocos Norte Representative Sandro Marcos admits this version that we have now, which you call as legitimizing political dynasties, is the most acceptable among his colleagues because most of them are from political dynasties. And even Congressman Sandro Marcos said that he himself comes from a political dynasty. So, are we faced with a situation wherein we either don't get any law on political dynasty passed, or we have one version that will just legitimize political dynasty? At kung ganon, mas maigi pa ba na wala na lang ipasa?
Precisely, Karen. That's why for the last 38 or so years, Congress has never passed an anti-dynasty law because it is against their interest. Ngayon, ano ba pinagkaiba? Bakit biglang naglabas sila ng anti-dynasty bill this year? Because of the massive protests against corruption last year. Because of the Baha sa Luneta rallies, because of the trillion peso march, tapos nasundan niya ng November, and then nasundan niya sa February. And until now, we are enjoying the whatever gains made from these ongoing protests and strong public opinion against corruption. So, napipilitan lang kasi sila. And so they will come out with a token just to appease somehow the people's anger over the corruption scandals. So yun na nga it will really depend on what is happening outside and how the people will push for a better bill. Now, there are proposals na pag hindi ito nakalusot, idaan na lang sa people's initiative. That is easier said than done. But I think this is already a reflection of how defensive those in power are. But again, tama yung sinabi mo, kung ganito rin lang naman ang klase ng batas na ipapasa, it might be better just not to have. At least kung walang batas, you will have the constitutional provision banning political dynasties. Pag ganito, may constitutional provision ka na nga, may batas ka naman that totally undermines that constitutional provision.
Yeah, and so, you said you will go to the Supreme Court to question it kung ganong klaseng bill ang mapasa. Malamang
mabasura din ito ng Korte Suprema because talagang ang linaw-linaw na it's not what is contemplated in the Constitution.
And lastly, Teddy, since you were part of Bayan, kasama kayo dun sa nananawagan na ikulong ang lahat ng sangkot sa flood control controversy, will you be planning any protest soon during the SONA or anytime in the future? Nakalimutan na ba ng mga taong bayan itong flood control controversy?
Siyempre hindi. In fact, this coming June 28, we will be participating in the rally initiated by the White Ribbon Movement and the Kilusang Bayan Kontra Kurapot to protest both the flood control scandal na hanggang ngayon hindi pa rin nare-resolve at saka yung mga katiwalian collected with Vice President Sara Duterte in the impeachment complaint. We feel that ikaw man ay anong kampo ka man, nasa Marcos camp ka o Duterte camp, we are all impacted negatively by all this corruption. So June 28 po yan sa EDSA, alauna ng hapon, we will be there. And then of course, doon sa State of the Nation address. Also at the opening of the impeachment trial, there will also be mobilizations. So medyo maraming mga scheduled na pagkilos.
Maraming salamat po. Again, Teddy Casiño, Chairman of Bayan and former lawmaker.
Thank you very much. Maraming salamat din po. Magandang araw sa inyo.
The Anti-Political Dynasty Bill should live up to its name and prevent the proliferation of political dynasties in the country. The main problem in this issue is that many lawmakers who crafted the House version of the bill are part of political dynasties themselves. The measure could test the sincerity of the Marcos administration on cracking down on political dynasties. Be informed, be insightful of the news. I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno. Always stay at the forefront.